I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Welcome back to the best leadership podcast ever, where every week we reframe your daily behavior to help you catapult your career. I'm a 3-time entrepreneur, an executive coach, and I help transform leaders and teams into highly productive, collaborative units. If you're interested in learning more, reach out to me, leadership@bytitleonly.com. And right now, what I want to do is tell you a little story about this guy in 1842. You see, because what this guy did is he stitched together the remains of a fish with the remains of a monkey, and he claimed it was a mermaid. He then charged people money to see it and made a pretty penny off that hoax. This wasn't his first con. See, he had already figured out how to fool people into paying for him. In fact, a few years earlier, this same guy, whose name is Phineas, he purchased an elderly slave woman and claimed she was the 161-year-old former nurse for President George Washington. He then charged people to listen to her tell tales about the country's hero. Now, when she died, the autopsy revealed that she was actually younger than 80, but Phineas didn't care. He already made a veritable fortune off of her. It was time for the next con. His deceptions made him so much money that in 1871, he put all of his hoaxes together and made a roadshow out of it. He called it the Phineas Taylor Barnum's Grand Traveling Museum, Menagerie, Caravan, and Hippodrome. Shortly thereafter, he merged with James Bailey's circus, and that's how the Barnum and Bailey Circus was born. P.T. Barnum has gone down in history as a great businessman. But was he also a good leader or simply a colossal jerk? The answer is, well, it's complicated. But it's an important distinction for you to understand in your life. A few years back, I was running the sales department for a large organization. My boss asked me to focus the team's efforts on one specific product line, virtually ignoring all the others. We'll have more success selling that product, he told me. It's important to the company. As a company guy who wants to do good, I refocused the team accordingly. Though the product was hard to sell at first, we eventually got into a groove and gained a little bit of traction. Sometime later, I learned something that has stuck in my craw for all these years. And to be honest, I'm not sure where the craw is on my body, so I really want to find it and remove this. Because it turns out that this change in sales focus wasn't because of a company directive at all. It was because my boss had a side deal in which he personally benefited from the sales of that product. Thanks to my team, he had a really lucrative year, while the sales team didn't benefit any more than they would have had they been selling any other product line. And this brings us to the question that I wanted to ask in the first place. Where does the leadership line lie between influence and manipulation? In other words, when is somebody being a good leader and when are they just being a jerk? Now, to answer this question, we need to know the difference between influence and manipulation. Unfortunately, that's where things get a little mushy. Here are definitions that lots of people use. Influence is when you guide people to a goal with trust and transparent communication. It's a win-win. Manipulation is using deceit or pressure to get what you want. It's a win-lose. Now, there's a problem with these definitions, and it's demonstrated with both P.T. Barnum and my former boss. The problem is that you can clearly manipulate people and still have a win-win scenario. So let me present to you my new distinction between influence and manipulation. Here it is. Influence builds relationships, while manipulation exploits them. In other words, it's less about the ultimate intention and more about each party's perception of the other person. For instance, with my previous boss, the perception at the time was that we were helping grow the company. The sales team succeeded. The team members made their commission. It all seemed like a positive influence. It was a win-win. It wasn't until later, when we learned of the boss's true intention to line his pockets, that our perception changed to a feeling of manipulation. It didn't change the win-win, it just changed our perception of it. You see, you may feel somebody is influencing you only to discover later that they manipulated you, or vice versa. You may feel like they were manipulating you only to discover that they were actually influencing you. It happens all the time. As it turns out, there are 5 behaviors that define the fine line between influence and manipulation. These are the 5 behaviors. Number 1, intent. Influencers lead, manipulators control. For instance, an influential leader encourages a team to embrace a new initiative, while a manipulator will guilt trip them into doing it. Number 2, transparency. Influencers are an open book, manipulators have a hidden agenda. For instance, a CEO may transparently explain the reason for a restructuring, but a manipulator will spin the story to try to make things look good. Number 3, emotion. Influencers use inspiration, manipulators use exploitation. For instance, a leader says, "This is a challenge, but I believe in you," while a manipulator will say, "If you don't do this, we're all screwed." Number 4, choice. Influencers empower people, manipulators back them into a corner. For instance, a manager will give employees freedom to try new ideas, but a manipulator will guilt them into working late. And number 5, long-term versus short-term gain. Influencers will build trust and loyalty. Manipulators get short-term compliance. For instance, employees will follow an influential leader because they want to, but they comply with a manipulative boss because they have to. So are you an influencer or are you a jerk? P.T. Barnum was a master manipulator. I think we can both agree on that. Sure, he had a unique ability to capture attention, but his success wasn't built on mutual respect. He exploited people's curiosity for his own personal gain. Yeah, he was a great businessman, but he was a jerk of a leader. It's sometimes hard to tell the difference between influence and manipulation when you're looking from the outside. Both get results, both can inspire action, and both can even create short-term wins for everyone involved. But it's a focus on long-term trust and respect that creates a positive perception and separates the influencer from the master manipulator. Yeah, my boss got us to sell an underserved product, but his manipulation caused us to lose our loyalty to him for the rest of our lifetimes. Remember, unlike P.T. Barnum, your legacy isn't going to be judged by how many people bought a ticket. It'll be judged by how many people chose to stay and play in your circus. The bullhorn is yours, my friend. Be careful what you say. If you want to understand how your behaviors may be limiting your career growth, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you for free. If you like this, forward to it a friend, give it 5 stars. Either way, I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.